Hey everyone, welcome to the photo show. My name is Brian Matiash, and this is our third episode. Today is Monday, May 2nd, so we are now in the wonderful springy month of May. I wanted to give you guys and girls a little update on kind of the show, what we've been doing. It's been a busy weekend. I've gotten so many positive pieces of feedback from people all over the world who've watched it here on Facebook, or they watched the archive on Facebook, or even on YouTube, because I also put it there as well. The reason why I put it in YouTube is while Facebook allows me to broadcast at 720p, which is kind of the lowest version of HD, I record locally at 1080p, which is a much higher, twice the resolution, and I upload that to YouTube, which supports 1080p. So that's great. But one of the other things I wanted to show you is we now have dual camera support. So that was one of the really important things for me in terms of production value is I wanted to have a second camera here that shows you kind of, this is basically my office setup. And this is what I work in. This is where I broadcast. My main camera's right over there. And I think it'll be really important when I have products to show that have something to do with a story or a review or whatever, that I can show it to you instead of just holding it up like that. You know, over here I'll show you, you know, just like that, kind of like how I've had to do it. I can go here and just put it right up to the camera. So really excited about that. I'm gonna just refresh the Facebook page here and see if I want to be able to monitor the, there it is, the broadcast. Now, in terms of questions, what I want to do is I'm going to field the questions as they come through here. I'm going to pause the video and do me a favor, just if anyone's watching, just leave some comments. I want to see that they're coming through live, and I'll look through every now and then, but mostly at the end I'll field questions. So the photo show this is the very first Facebook Live daily live show that is focused on photo and video and the tech that surrounds both of those industries, because it's really important to me. So I'm just gonna go here, and so far everything's looking good on the Facebook stream. Fortunately, everything's going live, and you know what? I'm really happy with the results. Ben Canales, 123 comment. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. You owe me coffee now that you're back from your little trip down the Grand Canyon. No big deal there, right? So right now, what I want to do is the overall gist of today and all the shows is I always look for content that I think is interesting and important, especially as it relates to photo and video, and I want to bring it to you as stories. I make no I don't shy away from the fact that shows like The Daily Show and John Oliver both influence me like immensely. I absolutely love what they're doing, the format of the show, and so this is still one-man show. I'm manually switching cameras, and you'll see graphics come through, but yeah, I think it's awesome. So with that, let's go to our first story. So last week, on Friday's show, episode 2, I believe it was Joshua Carlisle, he brought up this, he was asking about the availability of the Sony 2470, and I didn't even realize that or the new one, the 2470 2.8, and it was about, I guess it's hard to find, and I've seen stories with Zeiss with their bodice lenses being really kind of difficult to find. And actually, I'm really glad Ben is here, specifically because I'm a big fan of supporting local when it makes sense, when I can. And so I think a lot of people, for the most part, you go to B&H and you go to Amazon or maybe Adorama, and like those are the big places when you're looking for cameras and lenses. You want to be the first one to buy one. In fact, my buddy Mason Marsh was just texting me before the show that he is actually getting the brand new Zeiss bodice, the 18 millimeter, like in a couple of days. And it's not because he went to Amazon or B&H. It's because he went to a place called Pop Photo, as far as I can remember. And so I know we talk about local in terms of you know, farm to table and stuff like that, like buying local vegetables and fruit and organics from your local farmers in Portland here. That's actually a huge thing. I mean, I'm kind of saying it tongue in cheek, but it's very true that we have a very strong local community here. Everything from, like I said, we have farmers markets, and now that you know, marijuana is legalized, there is a huge local movement here to grow and sell marijuana at the distributors or the various storefronts that you can now go to. So I still think that the same principles apply to photography. So why local? So I personally have experience with all of these brands here, specifically Pro Photo Supply. Pro Photo Supply is the that's the this local Portland kind of main camera store, and oops, didn't want to do that. And so the reason why I love going to Pro Photo, or you know, when I was up in Seattle, I had to go to Glazers, or when I was in Salt Lake right before a workshop, I went to Pictureline, is because they can provide you with kind of they're integrated into the community, they're local, and they can provide you with a kind of a level of service and customization to your needs that Amazon or B&H never could. I mean, if you go into B&H, if you've visited New York City, specifically Manhattan, it's a madhouse. I mean, it's crazy. They're famous for their conveyor belts, you know, where you buy a product and it comes through on in a little bucket, kind of like an assembly line. And that's not exactly the kind of, I guess, way I want to feel when I'm spending thousands and thousands of dollars. So if there's something I'm interested in, I can go to to Pro Photo Supply, and try things out with my hands and talk to people and people who are knowledgeable. And more than anything else, you're supporting them. So Pro Photo Supply does a bunch of really cool community events. I know specifically with Ben Canales, they've helped him out and sponsored him to create some really awesome videos. So I guess my point here is the reason why, again, someone like Mason, my friend Mason, was able to get the Bodice 18 or, you know, other lenses is, if you were to look at, I guarantee you, if you were to look at the waiting list at B&H, for example, it'd be massive. Because that's what everyone goes to. It's like everyone's going to the same place where there are these really fantastic local distributors. And the thing is, you can say, well, Pictureline, I don't live in Salt Lake City. That doesn't matter. My wife, Nicole, is a religious Pictureline supporter, and they ship stuff to her all the time. They shipped up this massive, super heavy studio kind of this tripod rig for her food photography. It was massive. And they shipped it up to her. And I've had luck. You can see Alan's camera. They're based outside of Philly. They're in Pennsylvania. I remember years ago when I wanted to get one of the, I think when or Olympus announced their first digital pen, I wanted to try it. And they were the only ones in the country who had it. And you would never have thought to call them. I just gave them a shot. So, yeah, I'm not going to, listen, I use Amazon all the time. I don't use B&H very often. But Amazon you use all the time, and you cannot knock the convenience. But for me, just being able to support a local business, especially one that's a photo supply shop, which is, I mean, those have got to be tough businesses to be in today. I think you should, you know, give it a shot. You never know, if there's something you're looking for, they might have it, whereas Amazon and B&H will strike out. So the next story, again, Daily Show kind of John Oliver inspired graphics. I've been spending a lot of time with video, and as you can tell, this show is purely video. But every single piece of gear that I'm using is arguably still photos. The camera I'm on right now is an A7S Mark II with a 24-70 lens, and this camera, let me just do this here. Look at that. Getting better at this. This camera is an A7R Mark II with a Zeiss Tuit 12mm f2.8. Unfortunately, because even though the Tuit is made for a cropped sensor, the 35mm film aspect, I'm getting this really nice wide view. And I'd like to call attention to this this invention that I'm patenting called the Puffs Plus diffuser. I didn't have any diffusers, and I was too lazy to get a piece of paper, so I literally took some Puffs Plus and I put it up there, and it's diffusing the light. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, so there's this convergence that I'm seeing clearly between still and video. And again, I still see Ben is in here. And Ben Canales is one of those photographers who has bridged that gap. Because, you know, someone like Ben who does a lot of time-lapse, which is one of those weird freak babies of photo and video. You know, it's basically taking photos at a set interval and then kind of putting it to motion. So any one photo is an individual still frame, but when you put them together, you have this really interesting factor of motion, this quality of motion that full motion video doesn't give you. So from that, you know, just look up Uncage the Soul Productions, look up Ben Canales, you'll see these amazing videos. And really, next time, I'm actually working on a segment of highlighting photographers or creatives and their work, and Ben's on that list already, so you'll see that soon in a future episode. But here's my point. So what I find interesting is this. I'm gonna queue up a video. I'll play this video in a second, but I have these two lenses here that I love. This is the, there we go. It's a Loxia. Oh, look at that. You see the 2.8? That's really nice. 2.8 is a 35 millimeter f2 and the 50 millimeter. And sadly, I had to send my 21 back to Zeiss because they needed it for NAB, but they're sending me the 18 Batis instead. So it's a fair trade. But the point is that these are, for the most part, still cameras. But what you may not know on the Loxia line is, here, let me see if I can show this to you. So let me put my finger on it right there. Okay. So that is a declicker screw. So normally, here, you hear that? That's the aperture ring. So that's me stepping up and down the aperture ring. If I were to take the declicker tool and flip that switch, the aperture ring would go totally fluid. And for video, that's huge because one, you're not going to get any sound when you, as you heard there, the clicking, but two, you also be able to kind of control the iris of the video, which is super cool. So what I'd like to do is show you this.
Hey everybody, Jem Schofield here with the C47, and today I get to talk about brand new gear, and brand new gear from Zeiss, which is awesome. And believe it or not, they're not lenses. So what I have in front of me are the new lens gear rings, coming in 4 sizes, and for me, in my opinion, they're really designed for 3 of the still lens families that they make: Loxia, Milvus, and Otis. So I think what we should do is just go ahead and gear up this lens. It's pretty simple. We just go ahead and put that over the lens itself. A couple of things to note. Number one, we want to go ahead and take the geared portion here, which is nice and wide, which I really like for follow focus systems. And we want to make sure that it's covering as much or the entire focus portion of the barrel of your lens. For the Loxia family and also the ZF version of the Milvus lenses, we can also do one other thing to really cine mod these lenses. Each one of the Loxia lenses and again the ZF versions of the Milvus lenses have a declick feature. And what we do is we take this little patented declick tool, we look for the set screw on the back of the lens. We go ahead and put the declick tool in there, turn it 180 degrees. And when you do that, you now have a declicked aperture so you can pull iris. So one other step in terms of taking these lenses and making them cinema style. Okay, so we moved outside. We've lensed the C300 with the Otis 55. We've taken the medium lens gear and put that on there. And as you can see, pretty typical setup when we get to have a camera operator and an AC pulling focus. Follow focus system attached to the lens gear. In this case, Dan is also using a whip. Based on the position and sort of how he has to pull focus, it makes it a lot easier for him to do that. And then I am, in this situation, the talent. So I'm gonna have to hit a mark or marks. We've actually rehearsed that. And basically I'm just going to start to walk towards the camera and go to where I'm supposed to go. And again, this is pretty typical for when we're doing narrative work, commercial work, maybe documentary where we're doing reenactments. And by the way, we are shooting with this Otis 55 wide open at an f1.4. So if Dan nails this, awesome.
All right, sorry for that. That was not the smoothest transition. I think I accidentally hit a button that I didn't want to hit, but I was trying to say that Zeiss actually released recently this new product that wasn't a lens. It's actually these gears that allow you to kind of do follow focus for videos. So for lenses that arguably are meant for stills. And so what you're seeing, and it's not just with mirrorless or SLRs, but even with mobile phones, you're seeing this really strong convergence of still and video. And it may not be new in terms of, oh yeah, I can record my videos. But to me, it's a really big deal when a company like Zeiss, which is kind of very traditional and very kind of, I would say, methodical in the products they release, they come out with this adapter for their existing lenses, which to facilitate video. So that towards the end of that video, when they actually showed it to you in the field, they were using a Canon C300, but they also had in the demonstration a Sony A7 system with a whole entire cage. So I think it's freaking awesome. For me, doing all this stuff, I'm learning all this stuff on the fly. I'm literally putting these broadcasts together as I learn things, and it's opening up a whole new kind of thought process of what I need to understand, how I need to compose. So yeah, super, super exciting. All right, so for the third story, so this makes my soul cry. I saw this on the next web. It's called Hippo Pics. So Hippo Pics, in a nutshell, if I understand correctly, is a service, and what I want to do is, why is Siri waking up? Go ahead, go away, Siri. I didn't even say anything about Siri. Let me find this for you right now really quickly. Here it is. I'm going to bring this. If essentially what it does is you use their app, you upload your photos, and professional photographers will edit them. They will stylize them for you, and then you will get a notification that your photo is ready to share. So I'm going to play this really quick video from, this is their product video. It's like 40 seconds, and then we'll come back. But yeah, this is just something else. So you browse through your gallery of collaborations, they call it, and you, I don't know what, you let other people create your, I don't get this. You get it. This to me is, like I said, it makes my soul cry. But now my video is not coming through because I really think I'm taxing the computer. So I'm really hoping that I can bring it back. Oh wait, here we go. Okay. Whew. So, I don't know about you. Like, that might be something that's okay for you. You might think that that's up your alley, but when I think of photography, you know, when I wrote this book over here, The Visual Palette, it's all about finding your own kind of creative signature, your own individuality. And I base it on three primary pillars. There's your individualism or your individuality during the composition, during the editing phase, and during the sharing phase. And to give away the one, arguably probably one of the most fun parts for me of digital photography is the ability to execute on creativity with like filters I apply or effects. It lets someone else do it. Whose photo is it? To be honest, seriously, like, I don't understand how anyone. Basically, what you're saying is, I don't care about the photo. I just want to have a really cool Instagram feed. So that way, of course, what that means is you're going for likes or comments or getting regrammed, and that to me is just really tragic and sad because that takes away from, you know, photography is like my life. It's my business. It's everything to me, and it really does make my soul hurt when you have a company who thinks it's okay to say, hey, don't worry about the stylization. You guys suck at that. We'll take care of it for you. I don't understand that. To me, the hallmark of a photographer is to go through that journey, that learning journey, understand the tools that are out there, figure out how they work, figure out how they interact with your particular photos, and then create something from that. Not just say, okay, well, I took the photo, I'm going to hand this off to someone, they can give it back to me. Where's the integrity there? I don't understand. Like, so if I share the photo and someone likes the photo, let's say I share this photo and Hippo Pics, they do their edits from their pro staff and they give it to me, and then I share it and you like it. Any one of you likes it, but you like it because you like the stylization. Let's just make that assumption, right? So are you liking the photo or are you liking the treatment? You know, and whose creative output is that at that point? So I really think that services like that, I can't stand behind. I can't say anything good about it. I'm going to take a strong opinion here and say that it really goes against the grain, and it just fuels this whole trend that we've seen for the past years with social media, where the actual pursuit of the art, the growing, that is like, don't worry about it. We're going to Happy Meal that. We're going to kind of commoditize that and just go ahead and share on Instagram and make sure you hashtag HippoPics. I hope, I don't want anyone to go out of business or anything. I think, an entrepreneur should have as much right to make a go at as any other entrepreneur. But I do think that the spirit of this is flawed. Unless I'm missing something. If there's something here that I'm clearly missing, then I would love to know about it. But the way I see it is, don't worry about, the creative process of your photo beyond the composition. Just take your photo of your landscape with, some girl standing in the distance with a shawl over her head, and just from the backside. Make sure you have to shoot everyone from the backside in the distance. Get that formula and send it over to HippoPics and let them creatively stylize it so that you can share it as your own. You see, to me, that's awful. And so I felt compelled to share that with you. So that's so far the show in terms of the stuff I have for you. And what I'd like to do now is turn over to the comments because I've been neglecting them. I just want to see what we've got here. So, all right. Yeah. Okay. So I have like, people seem to have problems with the broadcast. Some people don't, though. I don't know. I mean, this is totally, the bandwidth is good here. I'm looking at the bandwidth. Everything looks fine. So that's why I record it locally, and that's why I make it available to YouTube, and I share that afterwards. And I would think that the local or the archived version with Facebook makes itself aware, or makes, smooths things out. Or just for Instagramers, homework to find a way it makes it. Well, that's the thing. So what Ben's saying is, or it's for Instagrammers hoping to find a way to make some cash, compared to what Colby is saying with, it's for photo takers. Yeah, I mean, go to any Instagram Explorer screen and you'll see a clear theme. You're either taking a photo of someone with, thick rimmed glasses and a cup of coffee with a visco filter applied over it, or it's a person standing on a beach in the distance, their back is to you, and a visco filter is applied to it, or it's a overly saturated photo of a night sky with a visco filter applied over it. And that's basically what you see, or a really oversaturated sunset with a visco filter applied to it. There is these like really big buckets of genres and themes that these photos. I don't necessarily discourage that, because if that's the kind of photography you want to do, great. And if you want to open it up in a Visco app or Snapseed or whatever and stylize it that way, that's great. It's yours. You can do whatever you want. It's clear that when you do that, you're going for likes. You're going to maximize the amplification of your photo. And I can't argue with that. I mean, my belief, my mantra with art, any form of art, is the only good art is the art that's shared. Art in and of itself, a photo, is meant to be shared. If I take a photo and I keep it to myself, to me, that's a tragedy. So if you want to share it, then, you know, by extension, it's a logical assumption to make that you want to see it as wide as possible, or you want it to be seen as widely as possible. The problem is when you contort your creative vision and instead of taking a photo that you really want to take, you take a photo that will get maximum likes instead. And that's kind of like, well, what are you here for? You know, you're not really a photographer here. You're just someone who's trying to get likes on social media using photography as a medium. And that to me is like, we're comparing apples and oranges at this point. Yeah. Oh, Kanik, thanks again from earlier too for our chat. Yeah, post-process. So what Kanik says is totally agree. I think for me at least, post-processing is the most personalized part of creation. But I feel like social media has been going this way for a while. Yeah, totally. And don't get me wrong. I'm not bitter whatsoever, and I hope you don't think that I am. I just am very passionate about the creative pursuit of photography. And that's what I've spent all my life, you know, kind of trying to teach, wrote a book about it. So I don't think that there should be easy ways. Like, there shouldn't be any shortcuts. You know, I think it was Jay Maisel said, if you want more interesting photos, live a more interesting life. You know, doing the same thing over and over again in terms of what you shoot and then sending it through the same app over and over again, that's not really interesting to me. That's just kind of like an assembly line of photography. But maybe you're into stock photography, and in that case, yeah, sure, you need that kind of stuff, and you want to have a high output, because that's how you can actually make it in stock, is if you have thousands of photos approved in your portfolio. So who knows? I think that's about it for comments and feedback. So with that, I just want to thank everyone for joining me, for watching, and for your comments. And I look forward to seeing you on episode 4 tomorrow around between 5 and 7 p.m. I'll send a kind of a 15-minute warning beforehand. I'm just trying different times to see how well it works with everyone who's watching. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Oh, actually, no. I remember Nicole told me to do one of these